Technical subjects are full of words and expressions with special meanings, and SEO is no different. These terms can be pretty confusing, and they sometimes can have different meanings depending on who's talking. Misunderstandings can lead to confusions, arguments, and poor results. So I'm going to take this opportunity to explain the meaning of some of the words I'm going to be using. This is a webinar all about keywords, so let's start by explaining what I mean when I say keyword. A keyword is any word or phrase that a user types into the search box on Google or any search engine. This is actually only one of the general meanings of the word keyword. Outside of SEO, a keyword can be a word that's used to crack a secret code, or it might be a word in a programming language that has a special meaning. None of those definitions apply to SEO. When we use the term keyword, we use the term keyword because it's part of the HTML specification. Keywords were supposed to be a part of the HTML page that would make it easy to file them and cross-reference them so they can be retrieved later in a search. That's how the first search engines worked. They didn't search through the content of the page. Instead, they returned results based on the keywords the author used to describe the content. Of course, modern search engines are more helpful. They read the entire content of the page and then work to return the most relevant results for any search. They mostly ignore the suggested keywords because they're too easy to exploit. And sometimes an author might forget to put some important points in the keywords, so users wouldn't be able to find the page even when it was exactly relevant for their search. When somebody creates a web page in HTML, they can add keywords and other information in the page's meta tags. Meta tags are pieces of code in a HTML document or web page. They aren't part of the visible content. Instead, they include information about the page. Meta is Greek for above. It's a common term used in computing for information about a file rather than the information contained in the file. Some meta tags name the author, the person who created the page. The web page title is a meta tag, and so is the description. Meta tags are something that we used to include in all of our web pages as a suggestion. Back in the early days, HTML was used by academics to share their papers with universities all over the world. There was no commercial application to HTML, and nobody imagined the day when marketers would attempt to manipulate the search results. That naive age came to an end the day the first SEO stuffed spammy keywords into a keyword meta tag. Okay, so far so good. Many of you probably knew this stuff already, but we might as well cover it just to be thorough. One SEO term that caused a lot of confusion in the past is long tail keywords. Some of you are probably nodding knowingly, while some of you will be wondering what on earth I'm talking about. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with snakes or any other animals for that matter. Well, I do use dinosaurs to illustrate the point a little later, but that's just my personal taste. Let me show you a graph which will make the whole thing clearer. Here's a graph of a list of keywords sorted by how often people search for them. If you took all the keywords in your niche and made a graph of them, it would look pretty much like this. The graph is a curve with an enormous leap of imagination. You could picture it as an animal, maybe even a dinosaur. That's better. On the left side of the graph, there are a few keywords with really high search volumes. These keywords are the head. In the middle, there's the body. The search volumes are quite a bit lower, but they're still quite decent. This area of the graph is wider because there are more keywords there. On the right of the graph, we see the tail, and it's a long tail indeed. Yes, the origin of the term really is that stupid, but it's a good way to make sure you remember the concept. Here's the interesting thing about the long tail. Even though each word gets only a small amount of traffic, if you add all of them together, they get the majority of the total traffic in that niche. It's like the dinosaur. Because the tail is so long, it's heavier than the head and the body combined. That's what stops her from falling over when she stretches her neck, by the way. Some people think that a long tail keyword is one with lots of words in it. In other words, a phrase with 3, 4, 5 or even more words. In fact, most long tail keywords do contain several words, but that's not the definition of the term. It's totally possible to have a one-word long tail keyword if that word is rarely used. Of course, we can't go around drawing graphs to work out if a keyword belongs in the head, the body, or the tail. The length of the keyword is a good clue for you to work out where it belongs. There are more technical terms for long tail graphs. They're a lot more mathematical and they basically mean the same thing. The interesting thing is that long tail graphs occur in lots of situations. They're common in business and finance and nature and many other areas of science. There's a reason behind this dinosaur anatomy lesson. You can't rank a head keyword the same way you would rank a long tail keyword. You have to choose which part of the keyword graph you're going to target. Most of the keyword research articles that you see online tell you should focus on long tail keywords. That used to be great advice in the past. Now it's just wrong. The idea of targeting the long tail as your main focus is a marketing strategy that popped up in the early 2000s. Thanks to the web, it became viable for massive stores like Amazon to put a lot of their money into inventory that hardly ever sells. These slow sales add up over time and bring in more business than the best sellers. The same strategy used to work well for small businesses too, but a lot of spammers exploited it. Amazon has the resources to build millions of pages filled with accurate product descriptions, customer reviews, and recommendations. Most small businesses don't have these resources. So long-term marketing soon meant building tons of poor quality pages to get thousands of rankings for long-tail keywords. Ranking for one or two long-tail phrases is pointless. The traffic is small, it's not worthwhile. The good news is that if you pack your pages with useful content and cover your topics really well, they will naturally rank for lots of long-tail keywords without any real effort on your part. In 2016, it makes sense to target keywords in the body area of the graph. Google has made a number of deliberate changes that target the tactics that used to work beautifully with long-tail keyword lists. This is in addition to the changes I mentioned earlier. Keywords in the head area have tons of traffic, but the keywords are so broad that it's impossible to understand what the user actually wants. Imagine if you ranked your site to number 1 for car. Millions of people would visit your site every day. Some of them would be looking for a car to buy. Others would be looking for pictures of cars for their PC desktop wallpaper. Someone else might want car insurance. Another user might be looking for instructions to hotwire a car. Even with the customers looking for cars, it would be hard to convert them to sales from a single page. What brand of car do they want to buy? What colour? Of course, ranking number 1 for car isn't easy. You'd have to beat the competition from millions of other marketers. In fact, some SEOs might work their entire life on the project and still fail to get the coveted but useless number 1 ranking. That's why we focus on the body keywords. The long tail traffic we get is a nice bonus. It's like a side effect from our efforts. Okay, there's one last term I want to clear up before we get into the meat of this webinar, and that term is keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is a spammy process of repeating the same keywords over and over throughout a HTML document. Once upon a time, this was guaranteed to produce top rankings. It was especially effective in InfoSeek and Lycos. By the time Inktomi and AltaVista stepped onto the scene, it was old news. It didn't work anymore. In fact, it was a sure way to get your site blocked as spam. Now, if you're wondering who InfoSeek, Lycos, Inktomi and AltaVista are, then that should be a clue to you. These are all really old search engines. They all became pretty much obsolete when Google showed up. Google beat them all by offering a better experience with more relevant results and less spam. So keyword stuffing doesn't work at all. Sometimes people do it by accident. Imagine you wanted to optimize your web page for these keywords: German Shepherd training, German Shepherd behavior, German Shepherd barking, German Shepherd sit, German Shepherd play dead, German Shepherd show, German Shepherd best of breed, German Shepherd tricks. When Google sees so many German Shepherds on one page, it gets suspicious. A better approach would be to optimize the page for German Shepherd and then use the words training, behavior, barking, sit, play dead, show, best of breed and tricks in different headers and body text on the page. Use them as sections of the article. Okay, that's enough theory and definitions. Let's get into the 8-step keyword mining process. I'll show you how to go from a content idea to a list of diverse, high traffic keywords that you can target in your SEO campaigns. These different categories of keywords can be quite confusing until you have a little experience dealing with them. If you look at the forums and the SEO blogs, you'll see a lot of arguments and disagreements that really stem from misunderstandings about these different types of keywords. If you aren't sure what I'm talking about, just send me a question and I'll make sure it's answered.